So we're going to be talking about how do we weave in security as early as possible into the software lifecycle. We're going to be talking about the Secure Software Development Framework, SSDF, something that I think everyone on this call should get to know.
And I think prepare the organization as the very first step is a really good first step because it focuses specific to the organizational needs, the people, the processes, and the technologies used within the organization. And that's what powers every single organization. So, how do we address that while touching on the practice groups? And it's how do you secure your infrastructure? Being in the security realm and having to write this type of documentation, we need to know every single detail down to the MAC address with an IP address. We have to know all of the information. But how do we outline that in documentation? So that's a discussion that needs to take place. And that discussion isn't just security, it is the entirety of the organization. That's why people are listed in that requirement. So everyone has to partake and give information back into that. And the second one here I'll look at is to protect the software from tampering. Like I said, I like to tamper with devices all the time. I love some gadgets that you can put as like man in the middle devices to mess around with the calls to USBs in cars and other devices that have open ports. And the SSDF is to help build that secure environment, which will eventually render a much more secure software that is delivered. And in our case, it's APIs that we're delivering, and we want to be able to attest that those APIs are secure. So through that, how are we securing our APIs? You have to ask a lot of open-ended questions internally to be able to fill in these tasks within the SSDF. And it's not a one and done thing, which I'll come back to in a minute. But the produced well-defined software is, as an organization, we've discussed this. We've all come together. We've all agreed on this. We're all performing education and where we have awareness that is within the organization. And now we've gotten to the point to where we've matured as an organization enough that we can take on the zero trust methodologies. And then we're going to discuss how do we implement that and what is the best approach for this organization to do. And that's another key point that I really appreciate out of the SSDF is that you're not forced into a direction. It's loosely written so that what works best for your organization is acceptable. And I think to that point, it's do you at least have something in place for each of these areas to attest that you have done this and that your software has been basically bolstered more secure from the get-go. And then responding to vulnerabilities. I respond to vulnerabilities on a daily basis. And so having the organization within each of these practices and moving forward, the vulnerability you would expect to decrease. And that's your measurement gauge. Are the practices that we've implemented and the tasks that we've defined and outlined and everything that we've written to secure our final output, is it working? And if it's not, we need to go back and rethink and refocus, but we need to do that as an organization with everyone included. So that's how I view all four of these.
Yeah.